Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Forsaken Council. And tonight we are going to be discussing, the Cold War debriefing. I guess we're going to discuss like our thoughts on it. There's a lot to discuss with Forsaken missions and some new content that's been dropped there. And just today's update in general. I think we've got a TLC coming up as well, so we'll discuss that. Tonight I'm joined by the wonderful panel. Today, hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey.
Science.
Hi there.
Ren,
I thought it was birthday, not science day.
We're missing Ren's dance.
That is a science.
Yeah. We do seem quite short tonight. I mean, I don't know. Is our panel getting smaller and smaller each week, or?
George and I each count for 2. It's fine.
George counts for 5.
Only when I'm angry.
No, that's metric.
Like
he counts for 5 in metric. We use American.
Well, TSM is still away on business, guys, but I think he will be back with us next week onwards, which will be great. But I'm sure he's having a great time and enjoying his break. But anyway, the wonderful Ren is going to run through the slides tonight, and we will be discussing them as we go. So I will lock on to you, Ren.
Okay, can anyone confirm on the YouTube chat that the slides are visible?
I can look on YouTube just a sec. Bear with me. There is a few second delay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it looks fine, Ren.
Okay, cool. So let's get going. Let's get rocking. First of all, raid review. Liam, over to you.
Okay, targets, ability to use multiple strategy and fleet types. You put a thumbs up next to that. Is that your thumbs up or is that our thumbs up?
That is Rule's thumbs up.
No, I tried to just kind of, as an overview from what I saw on the page, what I heard people talking about in chat and things like that. People were still able to get out their Seawolves and their Apollos and, hit multiple target types. People were able to use Citadels in some of the higher targets. So I give that a thumbs up because there was a lot of opportunity for people to get points.
Yep. And it's true. I mean, it's the first raid in a long while where people can be creative. I mean, a guy from my alliance posted on the TFC page. He was doing his raid with 3 cannon Zealous. He just changed the resistance special and off he went, scoring points.
Yeah, Jason was using Tide Seekers too.
I have to say, like on Saturday, I was kind of like a little bit depressed about the raid because I was using monos that had the wrong armors on, but I did actually plow through it, and on the Sunday I went out and hit a lot more points as well, and I did collect the mono tokens and some charged armors, and I refitted my monos, and then had much more fun with them, using the tokens in the raid. So I must say, after making the changes and getting the charged armors onto the monos, it was a completely different raid for me, and I did have a much better experience.
Yeah, I did too, but I had to refit my monos, which is,
for third time.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I didn't have to change my monos at all, so that was the good news. But I did play a lot with the Gridiron mono, trying to make it a good tank. I'm still not overly impressed. I think the Zell is still a better tank overall. But at least it went from being shitty to okay. Good. I mean, I was getting about 30-something minutes repair on the Gridiron from each 100, driving well.
Yeah, I was kind of I was happy to see the Icebreakers performed well in this raid as well, because I kind of felt that they were not performing as they should have done last raid. So it was good to see that they could actually do this raid at a reasonable price. I don't know who on the panel. Did anyone on the panel use Icebreakers this raid? No.
I don't have any, so I can't be using them.
Okay, targets that reset. Yeah, was that the issue where you would leave a target and the target would repair itself?
Yeah, that was the resetting target where and I had the issue on the 100s, but I know it was reported on 80s as well. I'm not sure about lower targets, but very frustrating. People, not just prepping, but people that were actually going in and having issues with their fleet, like they were unable to complete the target in one go that were leaving the target and coming back. The problem was that I could not for the life of me figure out what was doing it. We tried on the half hour, not touching them if they were getting ready to respawn, but then we had ones that were brand new respawns that did the same thing. There were, we tried with mines, we tried with, getting, a certain amount of damage, just could not figure what it was. Although it wasn't officially addressed on the forum, there was an area towards the end of the raid where it looked like they fixed the issue and none of the targets were resetting.
Yeah, but they took their sweet time. I mean, it must have been something hard to pinpoint and fix.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time testing this with somebody because I was doing some prepping, and there was just, it was like 1 mine, 2 mines, 3 mines, this mine, that mine. I mean, we tried everything and we could not for the life of us figure out, building wise or whatever, what was causing it. But the good thing was by the end of the raid, it was gone.
Yeah, okay, cool. Spawn rates are great, by the way. That's the next one.
Yes, very happy with the spawn rates. Did not ever have a situation. There were a bunch of people in my sector that were doing the 100 targets, and in the past there has been issues where you've had to go chase a couple of sectors over for a 100 target, and it wasn't because people were not hitting them. It was actually because the spawn rates were really good and they were populating. I did not hear any complaints. Normally when you're on the raid, you hear a lot of people say, anybody see an XYZ target? I didn't see any of that, except for the odd person that, was not aware that there was a locator there. So yeah, very, very happy with the spawn rates.
Yeah. What I did notice is where I was, it was really, really busy sector this time. I think for context, I think I ended up with 200 million points, and I was 20th in the sector. Even if the dub next to you had nothing, if you went to that locator, you could always find 100.
Yep.
Even if there was only 1 or 2 of them, but there was always something in that locator. It was never empty. I didn't have an issue with it at all, and that for that sector this time is saying a lot. That was very good. Yeah.
So hopefully we will see the same spawn rates, not only for the higher targets, but also the lower ones, and that we won't see, if we get that second S-set target, that we won't see instances where this Drac only ever spawned 107s and this one only spawned 100. So I'm hoping that whatever they've done to fix the spawn rate last time, it will be kind of an even spawn.
I'd rather just not see the second S target.
Well, that was the next slide.
I mean,
next item.
The 80s were also spawning very often. I never had issues. I did a lot of 80s because I would do 100, slow repair, except once when I used the crew. But overall, do 100 slow repair and then use the Imperials against 80s. You're always on the map. Just sometimes more of one type than the other, but on average, could always find them.
Yep. Time to complete targets. I kind of gave this a thumbs down, and for 2 reasons. One, because of the supposed second S target that we're expecting on the next raid, and then my hope with the issue that these will actually become raid targets is I don't want these really big long raid targets to replace FM targets. Yep. Sorry, yeah, don't want to see very big, large, long FM targets and the time that it takes to do those. And so I think I was figuring it around about with monos. I know icebreakers were much faster, but it was 8 or 9 minutes for me to run through a single 100. If I was running a fast crew, and sometimes even longer depending on the route that I took. And so I think I would like to see them either smaller or less time to do, because if we do add that second one, then we're looking at almost 20 minutes per target. If the points are good, then that's fine, but I don't want to see it be a grind like we were on the last raid of the last cycle.
Agreed.
I think it all comes down to points. For instance, the 100 thing, nearly 5 million points being done in 10 minutes. I mean, that means you can score 30 million points per hour, and that's not shabby at all. Right?
No,
I mean, I know it's a long-ass target, but 30 million points per hour.
Yeah, but it's also going to be
good.
It's also going to be the superstore, so you're going to need a lot of points.
500
If
million.
it's like the last one, hell yes.
Yeah, if they take the 5
Yeah.
million and then split that over 2 targets, then you're doubling your time for no extra points. Now, if the second target also produced 5 million, even if they backed both bonuses against the second one, then then I would be happy for that.
Yeah, I'd be thinking maybe 7.5 millions or 8, because it's going to be like 2.4 on one target, 2.4 on the other target, then a 2.4 million bonus, or something thereabouts. If it's 7.58 million points per set, that would be my expectation.
Yep.
And the thing is,
that's
too,
still a lot of seat time, though, because I mean, you figure that the new hull that we're going to get is going to be at least 100 million, right? Not counting any charged armors that you want, not counting anything else they come out with. I mean, that's a lot of seat time again.
and the thing is,
Go over it. Sorry.
They're increasing the amount of points that we need to get, not just from the prize inflation, which now it actually kind of is prize inflation. If you're looking at points versus the A sets that we're getting, the cost increase is more than the A set increase as a percent of total, but also the flagships on the bottom, the build tokens, they're going up, generic and otherwise. The charged armors, you said 30 million per hour a couple of minutes ago. Well, we need 100 million for the charged armors, which are now basically a necessity item, which was not how it was sold to us. So that's 3 hours just to get those, another hour and a half to get the new stuff, another, hour-ish to get all that and like the generic ship build tokens. So it's not
that's assuming you're only doing 100s, right? Like I was doing a mix, so it would be longer for me, for instance.
Yeah, that definitely is something they need to take into account. Not everybody's hitting assets because of lack of confidence in their players' abilities or their connection, or they know they can do 100, so they just do that. It's not all about the top.
Okay, let's move on then. Slide 2 of 6. There you go, Ru.
Okay, and just breaking down each level. Tier 7, which was, of course, the 100s or the S set, if it was driven well with the right fleets, I thought it was acceptable damage for the points payout. If you drove into the cold snaps, then you got burnt, but that was the same pretty much in any target.
I'm still bleh on the punitive nature of the targets. I mean, honestly, if you mess up just once, it shouldn't take you that long to repair. I mean, if you continually mess up and you blow through it, then yeah, okay, fine. But there was times when, I think it was like it was RNG, of course, but when a bunch of executioners would get through and it would hit something other than the grid, and I came home with like a half-dead monolith. I'm still not a fan of the punitive nature of the way that they're designing the targets.
George, the only reason I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon and fully agree with you is just because Tier 6 was so doable.
Oh, no, it was.
Right.
I mean, I was doing it for instant repair damage.
I could raid for as long as I wanted. If I wanted to play for 5 hours, I could have. Because
and what happened?
Tier 6 with my Zealot and Imperials, I could just keep going. Right. And then, my monos are repaired, so let me drive my monos on a 100. Oh, did one right. Oh, can do a second one. Okay, now the tank's toast. Dock, repaired, back to the 80s. That to me was a very not stressful strategy, and I just kept scoring points.
Right, but what I mean by punitive nature of the target run is if say you glitched for a half a second and you went just a hair too close in one of those A targets. Right?
I lost connection on a battle, and I lost my entire Imperial Zealous fleet because I couldn't connect the battle. 8 hours, 4 or 5, I don't know. It was a very long ass.
That's what I mean by punitive nature. I don't mind taking the damage. The damage, is okay so long as it's not punitive in nature, and that's what it feels like. Is that one little mistake is not a small mistake? Like, it's not a small mistake. The damage is disproportionate to the mistakes that you make.
But it was, it's been like that every raid cycle since last year.
Yeah.
It was the same. Yeah, Hellraith.
Since the Hellraith one. Yeah. And what was the last raid that everybody actually enjoyed? The Apollo ones.
The Apollos, yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, the last raid I truly enjoyed, had fun, was the Borbus series because the Elite Target was co-op with Alliance teammates, and we all brought different fleets to tackle different aspects of the target. That's the last time I felt there was teamwork and strategy involved in killing an Elite Target. And that to me was fun.
But
after that's just a grind. All of them have just been a grind.
Yeah, but most players don't like the co-op thing, man. I mean, I still remember like Base Invaders where that was supposed to be co-op, and people would sink other people's fleets for coming into the targets. I mean, while it sounds good, a lot of players just don't play the co-op thing when it comes to raid.
But I don't know if you remember the Borbas and the Borbas Elite.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
wasn't a TLC, wasn't a campaign turret. Wasn't a map target.
The raid cycle that I enjoyed the most, I have to say, was Snowfall. I really enjoyed that raid cycle with the.
Oh, I hated that one.
The Kodiak and the Mastodon. It was just a great cycle.
A pain in the ass.
That was my favorite raid, Snowfall.
Mm. I like the Apollo ones. I like the Hellwraith ones. I actually kind of liked, except that second S target. I mean, most of them actually been pretty good. This one would have been actually pretty good too if they just had not messed up so much stuff or changed stuff midway through. I mean, it's not the raid that was the issue. It was the stuff surrounding the raid that's been the issue.
Yeah, the raid for me, I think the raid in itself, the targets are good. It's just the stuff they've given us to do the raid with has not been right, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
that's overshadowed the experience.
Yep. Agree. So let's move on.
Okay, tier 5, and this was what I heard from a lot of people, not only from my alliance, so we've seen it on the page, people die in the 60 and people tell them to bump up into the 80s. I really think they need to look at this target and look at the expected fleets that are hitting it and not look at it as in, okay, everybody that's a high level is going to go hit it and therefore there needs to be some damage for doing it. I think they need to revisit what fleets are hitting these and the damage that's being kicked out because of it. I don't know if you guys have any points on that.
And let's face it, I mean, if you look at the raid briefing, their advice was flat out wrong. I mean, they say, oh, tier 5 should be doable with Tide Seeker and Citadels. Really? I mean, those can do the 80s, but not the 60s. They die in the 60s like real fast.
Yep. Tier 4, I did not hear anything bad about Tier 4. There were not as many people actually hitting Tier 4 this time because they were all using different types of fleets in the 81s and that type of stuff to get targets. So I don't know if any of you guys heard anything negative on those or positive.
No, I saw one guy next to me who was hitting the 40s and just kept hitting the 40s and would just keep grinding. Apparently it was very doable for a level 50-something guy with a simple fleet.
Good. And then the Blitz Target, you know, we did not have the 89 that everybody loved last raid. It was replaced with the 84, which in itself actually had some issues on the Friday or the Saturday night. I can't remember which night it was. One night for a while there, you could not get the thing to unshroud no matter what you did. But they dropped the prize amount in points, and with the cost, it was kind of reduced points and increased costs on the Blitz on that. So there was people that were a little bit concerned about that and weren't happy to see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the prizes. Tokens. It was really good to see so many different types of tokens that were out there. It was even better to see that they were reduced. You could get Zealous tokens for much less than a regular full-day build token. So people who are in the process of building their Zealous tanks for the next raid or looking to build new ones, you had the ability to go ahead and grab some of those. There were Citadel tokens for folks that were doing Citadels. There were Imperial tokens, as well as our regular mono tokens, and as well as the regular build tokens that we had. So it was a good...
Tide Seeker tokens, Icebreaker tokens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so real happy. I thought they did a great job with that. I did hear some reports of some redemption issues where people were actually forced. Normally, if you own all of the tree on one side, in the past you only had to claim one thing on the other side in order to open the unlock store. There were a couple of people that were reporting that they had to actually claim 2 items before the store would unlock. I don't know if anybody else heard that.
No, for me it was easy. I just got the special and unlocked the store. No issue.
Yeah.
Okay. That may have been a small amount of people. And then the redemption amounts, there was some unclear, and I'm not sure how they could even fix this short of making something special in the release notes. For example, you could actually get a second Vassago's icebreaker, but that was not made clear in the release notes, nor was it clear on the redemption. So I think they could probably maybe make that a little clearer next time.
Yeah, one comment I wanted to make on the tokens rule, the inflation. Someone already mentioned the inflation in price, exactly in the price, and the tokens, the 24, 12-hour one, were all more expensive, and there was a discrepancy between the raid briefing, where the price for a Zalos token was announced at 1.5 million. And in raid, the actual price was 1.75 million, and some players noticed that too.
Yep. Okay, if we move on to the next one. Flash sale items. It was great. They had some discount prices on viable hulls and tech. You were able to pick up the Garrison battery, I think it was the siege rockets, and the icebreaker for half off for the first 48 hours of the raid. I think it was 48 hours. So that I thought was a really good idea. And if you wanted to unlock the store and didn't have that, that was one way where you could unlock it for cheaper than normal. And then
some people were confused though. They were expecting some sort of pop-up for a time-limited offer, and they didn't know that it was just the price there was cut in half.
Yeah, and that did come down the pike later. They did put a message up in the game, but not everybody reduces that page, and a lot of us tend to just ignore it when we log in. So, yeah, I think the communication, I know it was in the release notes, but it was an addition to the release notes. So if you were sharing the originals, people read it and then didn't go back to it. So, yeah, I think that could be something that is improved. But I'd like to see something like that continue on for the next set of raids as well, even if they just pick one set of tech. And the ability for people to go ahead and get that at that greatly reduced rate. Okay, then moving on to specials versus hulls versus weapons. You had the ability to go ahead and pick up a fleet and essentially buy the stuff with your points in order to build a really good fleet. So I thought they matched the specials and the tech to the hulls that were offered, and I thought that was really well done. And then the one that kind of made everybody cranky at the end, the raid timer issue. I know that this was brought up early on in the process. I saw some threads on the forum as well as threads on the TFC page where people said, hey, did the raid get extended? I personally was telling everybody that forget what the timer says, plan on it ending at the normal time. I know there were some people that were caught out. I know there were some people that got kicked out of battles halfway through. This definitely could have been addressed early, if nothing else, at least with a message up front, instead of basically waiting until, I think it was Laredo that passed it up to get some kind of official notice on it. So I think hopefully you would expect that it doesn't happen. I mean, timers are not new. This is not something new to Kicks. I don't know what caused it to be 4 hours longer. A, it definitely shouldn't have happened, and B, it should have been communicated a lot earlier than it was that the timer was in fact incorrect.
In basic customer service, I mean, if the timer is incorrect and the timer wasn't fixed in a timely manner, I think it would have cost them $0 to just extend the raid for 3-4 more hours, instead of abruptly ending the raid with the timer saying still had 4 hours to go. I think from a customer satisfaction perspective, Kixeye is still very immature as a company, as they apparently keep choosing the option that will make people hate them the most.
Yeah, that's so true.
Actually, I think it would be opposite of it wouldn't have cost them anything. It might have actually made them some money. But
maybe these times are like predetermined and it's preset into some kind of database.
Yeah, Liam, how many times they extended raid in the past for some technical difficulty they had during the raid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They could just have extended by 4 hours, but someone without any idea, remote idea of how to satisfy customers, just like, let's cut it.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, if you've ever done a raid before, or you're watching this, or on the pages, things like that, like, yeah, you know when a raid ends in your world, or you should know. But at the same time, like, I wasn't caught up by this. I assumed it would end at the same time. But, also, Kix is, if there's a raid extension, they tend to put it along the top in the game, but they very, very rarely do that. anymore. But at the same time, it wasn't even like the end for Epsilon World, because I was in Epsilon and it was still 4 hours off. Like, I know I made a joke about buying Kix a calendar a while back, but do I have to buy them a clock too? Really, guys, come on now. This is pathetic.
Yeah, and that was a good point about generating additional, because we all see it. The last hour of the raid, somebody comes on and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm 1.5 million points. Can someone help me with this to finish this?" And so if they had have extended it, then they probably may have made additional revenue from it. But I just think it was kind of cheeky to cut it off quickly as they did, as opposed to, because I think it was alpha where they got a little bit extra time. And then everybody kind of got cut off, So if even I'm not sure who said.
And Robin, sorry, but that was exactly my experience. I was in alpha, so I log in at 5 past noon my time, and the raid should have ended 5 minutes before at noon. But the raid was still on, and the timer still said 4 hours to go. So I'm like, oh, so maybe the time wasn't wrong after all. It was my lunch break, so I launched my ships. I did a few 81s, I did a few 85s. And then I went down to grab something to eat. When I come back, the raid's over. And I'm like, oh shit, I left three unfinished sets. I just needed to do 383. So I felt robbed of like 1.7 million the bonus for 80s times 3 plus the points for 383s. I mean, I thought, okay, so they are extending the raid, great. And no, they just cut it 50 minutes after.
Yeah, and some poor bugger. Yeah, some poor bugger that loaded a crew up 5 minutes before it was due to go, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, sorry.
Yeah, bear in mind there may have been people that looked at the timer, a day in advance or 12 hours in advance and thought, oh, do you know what? I've got, the raid's ending 4 hours later, so I don't have to rush home. I can, come home at this time, and I'm going to have enough time to finish off my raid. And then they're going to walk through the front door, load up BP, and raid's over, and they couldn't get the prizes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it was very, very poorly handled. I mean, either fix the timer with 1-2 days to go, or just extend the freaking raid by 4 hours. I mean, there will be no damage done. But no, they chose the worst possible option. Okay, let's move on, guys. I just put this here. A lot of people on page asking about changes to the Imperial after Heavy Mortar. I have that on the Ragnarok testing video that I published, and I put on the page, and I'm putting it here. It's probably hard to see here, but it's on the page. I made some changes to my Imperial using the tokens. I put the Mortar in, and I had to change some Mortars for lighter versions, and that was it. I mean, not much else changed. Okay, so just want to leave that up there. No need to, I don't want to labor the point here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Forever TLC. Who wants to take that one?
Do we have to talk about it?
Yeah. So George, since you volunteered, go.
The Forever TLC is back again. It is apparently from a Scourge agent. Unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, it's a lot harder than before. And I think Ren and I were talking about this before the show. The first thing that came to my mind was, hey, let me prep these out with my gluttonies. And he was like, hey, why in the hell do you need to use gluttonies to get the gluttony? That's not how it's supposed to work, which is a very good point. These are Conqueror targets, so you have to use Conqueror hulls. And from what I've been hearing, not the easiest TLC anymore.
No. Let's do first things first. So it requires Outpost 9.
Yes. Yep.
So people with Outpost 9 don't even look at it, or probably won't even see the option. It started today, and it's running until next Monday. So during the weekend and everything, you have time to do it. And there's a whole bunch of run-throughs. There's 6 run-throughs. Some of them are for the first 2, I think, are for. Let's talk about the prizes here.
Yeah.
So Sulfide Deployer, what is that good for?
A bunch of stuff because of the splash. You have the splash option for a couple of different turrets, and then it actually does a good reload for the Venom Splitter.
And can that reload also work for the other scattergun turrets?
In theory.
I can't remember. I'd have to look at it again.
Because it just says corrosive below, so I suppose it also should work for Basilisk and Draconian Scattergun, right?
It should.
Okay.
If they're corrosive, yeah, I don't remember which one's which. I'd have to look at them. But that's in run through 1 along with 2. Is it 1 day structure tokens? Is that what that's supposed to say?
2 day structure token.
So it's 1 2 day structure token.
Yep.
Okay. And then run through 2 is 4 encounters. The first 3 are base attacks, and then the last one is a defense grid. That one will give you the Venom Spitter, which, the Sulfide Deployer actually has been fixed with the Venom Spitter. I don't know if we want to talk about that. You get 2 12-hour structure tokens and a 1 day, a 1 7-day structure token.
Yeah. Which is enough pretty much to build 1 turret, 1 Venom Spitter with the special, like all those structure tokens are enough for that.
Yep. And then
on a level, and it requires a 11-way turret. I mean,
yes.
I don't believe that Venom Spitter even fits on even naked on a level 7 turret. Don't think it does.
All right. So run through 3 is 5 encounters. It's going to be 3 base attacks, 2 Scourge defense grids. You get 2 7-day structure tokens. You have 1 1 day structure token, and then
1 2 day.
And just before we move on, the slide says the video of the TLC are on the page, our website. But that was before we learned that the TLC is very different. The guards and the bases are very different. It's much harder. So the videos we have are from the previous edition of the TLC. So they're not really much to go.
But we'll probably have some up ASAP.
Yes.
If we can get somebody that can get through it without using
gluttony. Yeah, I'm gonna do the TLC and record it. I mean, I plan on doing it at least a couple prize packs tonight. Now, based on what I've heard, I will try tier 5 Conquerors first, but I think they're a no-go. I think you absolutely need Prides or Liberators or both. Okay, so I really don't think people with just fights and analysis and whatnot can do such TLC without coining a lot.
You're gonna try him without.
Run through number 4.
You're gonna try him without using the gluttony, right?
No gluttony, absolutely no gluttony, but I will even try some tier 5 Conquerors to see how bad they're gonna do.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're gonna do very badly. Run through 4 is 5 encounters again. It's 3 base attacks, 2 grids. You get the 1 12-day structure token, and then you get 2 25,000 Gluttony VXP tokens, which you can then win the Gluttony in Run Through 5, which is, again, another 5 encounters. It's 3 base attacks, 2 grids. You get the Gluttony, 2 12-day structure tokens. I'm not sure. Does anybody remember how many 12 days we can hold? Is it 5?
I think it's up to 3 or 5 now, because that was a problem last time. You could only hold 2.
Right.
And so people were losing the token.
Yeah. So
and I think that was increased to at least 3 now.
It is exactly 3.
It is 3. Okay, so it's 3. And then you get a Gluttony 6-day build token, which helps because you need them because I don't know who can keep up with PvP with all the PvP with all the PvE stuff. And then Run Through 6 is Mastery. You can do this. Does that say ×2? It's ×2, right?
×2, yes.
5 encounters again, 3 base attacks, 2 grids, and in each run through that you go through, you will get a 25,000 VXP token for the Gluttony and 3 6-day build tokens for said Gluttony.
So it's interesting because at the end of it all, you can end up with 7 tokens, 7 6-day build tokens.
Yep, 42 days.
42 days of build, which will probably net you 3 ships.
I've still got the tokens from the last one. I haven't even built Gluttonies yet.
Same here. I built 1, and I think I still got 3 tokens of those. So I'm going to have like 10.
Yeah, I think I have like 4 Gluttonies built, all for prepping.
And
I have 5.
You also end up with a total of 4 VXP tokens of 25k each, and I think the Gluttony to be skull needs 100,000, which means you can exactly skull. You can skull 1 ship, or you can spread the VXP across 4 ships. Okay. So let me ask you guys one question before we move on. Is anyone on the panel using the Gluttony, and if so, for what?
I am, and I use it to prep out bases.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even hit the bases after. I just want to annoy somebody. I'll go and prep out the guard fleet, and that's it.
I think for me, it makes.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just say it makes an excellent decoration alongside all those other PvP blueprints I've yet to build.
Okay.
Got that trophy case?
Rue, do you use them at all?
No, I have not built them, but I have one day left on the hull that I am, and then I'm actually going to start looking at them.
Okay, cool. I have one, and I use it with my Pride fleet to repair them if needed as they go in the channel. I run the Glutton in parallel, healing the leading Pride so it lasts a bit longer. And I know some people built one and are using that as their CM ship in base defense. It can be really annoying, or in some cases really ineffective, depending on your setup.
Yep.
Okay. So Forsaken Mission, let's go through this one. There's a lot of new prizes. Let's start with the Siege Rockets D100V. Folks who built Icebreaker, can you talk about this prize?
That damage, though, it is a very high damage number. Beg pardon?
Huge.
Yeah, huge.
Huge.
Bonus combat speed is definitely a plus as well, especially when the arc missiles, you can usually outrun those anyways, but it's always nice to have. If you're running into something that is significantly damaging and kind of short range, ideally you close the gap faster and kill them faster so you take less damage. Splash is a little lower than the comparable prize, but it's good. It looks very solid.
It's a good prize, isn't it?
That bonus combat speed. That bonus combat speed gives me a lot of ideas.
Well,
and you're going to have like
just
60
that at least would allow you to finish targets in less time, which means you can score more points per hour of seat time, right?
And time to kill the turrets is faster, so you probably take less damage too.
I imagine the bonus combat speed as well is massively going to improve the Icebreaker's effectiveness on autopilot.
Yeah, because how many rockets can you
buffed enough?
8?
I mean, there's 8 weapon slots. I usually put 6 on mine and a bunch of heavy specials.
Okay, so let's say you put 6. You're talking about a 30% gain in combat speed. It's significant.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Remote Raiders. It's nice to meet you. Can I have you all the time? Yes. Yes, I can.
See, I'm just wondering if you go fast enough, because I did try this the first raid, if we're using crews trying to go fast enough to get by those cold snaps, and I think with this, you might actually stand a chance of doing something funky.
Interesting.
Oh,
Let's move on. Expanded fulmination payload.
What did you say, Brian?
Dang it, George. I wasn't sad for a while, and now you made me wonder. Also, thank you, Robin. Yeah, rocket reload pairs well with that one because the reload is 2 seconds, so it's going to be a little harder to get this to the reload cap. That is a lot of splash. Oh, man, that is a lot of splash at a very minor spread penalty, too.
Yeah, but look at the weight.
Again,
my concern is the weight.
Yep.
There's CS2, which is 28%. There's the thing for the monolith, which is also 30%. The projectile speed and building and wall damage. I mean, you can have one of these. Well, 2, I guess, because we have CS2 on there, but not many more. So that's a fair point.
So would you take CS2 out and put this guy in? On your Icebreaker.
Ooh, no, I wouldn't be.
No projectile speed bonus, but you get a 50% reload bonus. Do you need that reload bonus, or are you already down to minimum 0.2 reload?
Not quite. You're close with the Icebreakers, but not exactly. And I'm wondering now if it's gonna, if that increase in DPS is gonna be worth the. Well, it's not much additional weight, but there's projectile speed and extra spread on the other ones as well, just in case the targets aren't so tightly grouped next time around. It's hard to tell, but this is certainly a fine choice. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't think we've looked at build times for any of those, so we don't know, do we? Just for the mortars we do, but not for that special. I have no idea.
Ooh.
Okay.
I did the weapons, not the specials.
Yeah, I don't know the special. So muddle missile, that's for gluttony. So if you don't have a gluttony, that's a useless weapon for you. Although you could also say you can, well, no, you can't mount that on a tiger shark because it's class restricted to conquerors and defenders. The other thing is it's an underwater weapon, so it requires an underwater weapon slot, or a mixed slot that can both go underwater and surface, because luge, I believe.
I really like.
Can you confirm, or is that a purely?
I don't think we've seen it.
This is going to be interesting.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. I couldn't
Yeah.
hear the question.
No, I just said if that's not like the deluge. The deluge cannot go on
Yeah,
a purely
nice
underwater
effect.
slot.
Nice damage reduction. It stacks twice.
This is going to run really well. It could run really well. If it does it run on the gluttony list?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is for the gluttony.
Yeah. This is going to run really well. For example, see Ren, where you said you run a gluttony up front with your lead pride. If you're running this on that gluttony as well, then it's gonna reduce the incoming damage on the pride because it's gonna muddle with the turrets and the guard ships.
Yeah, and you can get range of 100, but because it's an underwater weapon, it cannot be used for remote targeting, for spotting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most interesting thing is not the damage it does, but that special effect where it reduces damage dealt by the ships and turrets you hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a significant buff. Do you know?
Yeah.
Could be useful. It's hard. It was hard to, as much as like we see prints come out with these kind of stats written on them. It really depends on how it actually works in the game. But
yeah,
it could be fantastic.
And again, I think it's very niche. This probably only caters to the few thousand players, if that many, who are driving gluttonies around.
Renaissance trigger, yes. What does it mean by that?
It means that anything that hits, like if you hit a defensive hull and it has a res trigger, you're going to trigger the res. The res
it means
cap of
you cause stacks.
A thing with the res cap on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, amphibious missile system. That's the one that gives the 30% range buff to the model missile. It also gives more splash and 45% more damage. There is a bug in it right now that doesn't affect anyone because nobody has won it yet. But right now, if you try, you could stack it with guided missile systems, SFB3 and the others, getting 60% extra range on missiles. And some people are like, oh my God, we're going to get Liberators with 130 range. No, we won't, because Kickstarter is going to fix that. And so far, nobody even has the special. So nobody's building, hopefully nobody's going to have any time to exploit that.
Yep. I don't want to hear nerf either.
What's happened to Brian?
He dropped. Okay, so let's keep going. Other prizes. Siege Mortar D85D, because we did not have enough mortar so far in the past few months.
Yeah, I do not understand why they're giving us another mortar in the FM. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I appreciate that we've got a few mortar holes, but we've had enough mortars. Do you know what I mean?
Oh man, we have had enough mortar holes, enough mortars, enough mortar specials. It seems in the past 3 months, all we see is explosive things. Mm-hmm. And I would rather have a little bit of a variation, right? Give us a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then 3-4 months down the road, give us another round. But they're just giving us like explosive overload. No pun intended.
It reminds me of that. So what was the time when we had like 3 missiles released in a month, and each one was significantly better than the other. So we released a missile, we built it, then they released another missile, and we had to refit and put that missile on. And then they released another missile a week later, and we had to refit and put that one on. And it was just, I feel like we're in that phase again, excuse my French.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The blade, the Harrier, and then the Switchblade.
Yep.
Disruptor, Harrier, Switchblade, Blade. Well, let's just take a look at the numbers here. It is a good mortar. It has a very, very nice splash. Low spread. Same weight as the OU mortar. but being draconian, it will benefit from a weight reduction if your shipyard's upgraded. So it actually ends up being lighter than the OU, and it does more damage.
Yeah.
Brian will talk about that in a few moments, right?
Yep.
Assuming my connection can stay stable, yes.
Yes, there you go. So I like the prize overall. I just think it's, oh my God, another mortar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Precision napalm
Bigger splash.
detonator. Go ahead. Right?
No, bigger splash is good.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, absolutely. So this is another explosive special. It actually works both for rockets and for mortars, both, as it gives you a lot more splash, a lot more explosive damage, again for 30% extra weapon weight. It also brings back a component from a very old special, a river special we used to have in the old days, the incendiary shells.
Yes.
It brings it back. So now when your mortars land, 20% of them will leave a fire field burning there for a few minutes. And that stacks. So you put enough mortars in, now you get 5, 6, 10 of those fire fields burning on the same spot. They hurt because each one of them will do 300 damage per second, and that stacks. So you get 10 of them, you'll be doing 3,000 radioactive per second.
The question
Yeah,
is,
But I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on or anything, but how many people think that we might need this for the next trade?
well, and
George, I was not sad for a while.
Will it stack with the garrison battery explosive, or are we now going to have to go back to siege targeting and siege the siege battery?
Good question.
No, it should stack with the garrison battery. It should. My question is like all the other mortar specials, like high yield warheads. I very much doubt it. Both of them will stack.
See, but the thing is, right, if you think about the way the game is now, right, this old ability, this secondary effect, whatever we call it, used to be really, really painful. But we're talking about base cards now that will have 500,000 health, and we're talking about 3,000 damage a second. That's not actually going to be, and that's even if it doesn't have any defense like radioactive resistance. I mean,
I don't think this is geared towards PvP.
Mm.
I don't. And actually, Andrew in chat just said that the precision napalm does not stack with high yield warheads or high velocity rounds.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's certainly not going to be a noticeable effect in PvP.
Yeah, the one thing you lose with that special, then it's going to be projectile speed, and we know how important that is.
Yes.
Right. So you're giving up projectile speed to get the burning field. Like I said, I mean, if you get 40, 50 shells in the air from one single round, you're going to have 10 of those fields burning. Right? With reload under a second or reload of 2 seconds, whatever, you're going to get the second round hitting when the first round's still burning. So then eventually you can get 20 something fields burning in the same area.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of, though?
It adds up.
Yeah, what I just thought of, you could actually use this in hitting a base. If you're using judgments and they have something that, like, gales, can you imagine all those MERVs splitting up and having the fire fields?
But would it work with MERVs though? Surely it wouldn't work with a MERV.
I would think that it would.
Yeah, we'll have to test that further.
I think so.
It's a function of the explosive damage. So
yeah. UTT transformer. So this is just like the water transformer, UTW, except this guy adds sonar, 100 sonar. It's not the same as thermal. So again, if ships have their cloak efficiency high, that's still only going to see the subs if they drive right next to it. Right? But you're giving up damage, which is not a problem if you mount that on countermeasure turrets. So I think that's primarily the niche for that transformer. I can think of some niche uses for it that would be pretty interesting. Like putting a turret right in the middle of the channel with that, and the sub would have to drive by.
The cloak efficiency cap on player bases is 75%, isn't it?
Yep.
So theoretically, well, I haven't done a cloak sub build in so long I've forgotten, but at minimum this is 25 spotter for
No,
sonar.
it's more because every sub has a visible range. The average visible range is 40, plus 100 sonar, 140, minus 75%. That leaves you with about 35, 36 visible range.
Yeah, 35. Thank you. I don't know how these mechanics work. I just do the math.
Okay, let's just savor the moment. I just corrected the math guy.
Oh, George has corrected me on mechanics loads of times.
Okay, I'm just teasing you, Bart. Let's move on. So, one fixture Forsaken mission, the level 60 Blitz Target, now pays twice the normal target points to entice more people to coin the Blitz. And the Blitz Time 5 will actually pay 10 times the normal target point payout, which is actually significant. You may actually get a lot of points for the times 5. I just don't know how much that costs, so I don't know if it's worth it or not, but it's an incentive for people to buy FM points.
Hey, Ren?
Yep.
Could you scoop back to that muddle missile and then the special for a second? Jeff just pointed something out real quick, and I didn't notice.
I'm in the muddle missile now. What's up?
Okay, what kind of damage is it? Damage type corrosive, and if you go to the special, I believe it's penetrating
damage.
Huh. Well.
So there's something weird in there.
Interesting.
Maybe they want it to be useful on something outside of. Wait, would that even stack with?
But you need the range. I don't know. Good catch, Jeff. I mean,
well, it
could be a typo, could be a mistake. I mean, it wouldn't be the first one since apparently they can even get timers right.
We can ask later, but it's something to look.
I mean, I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm wondering if it now stacks with strike warheads.
So sorry, go ahead.
Final segment of the show, comparisons. Brian, short version. Would you pick the Siege Mortar 85D or the OU10?
85D.
85D.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the only downside of the 85D is splash. No, actually, that's an upside.
Except it's not spread.
Yeah.
Spread.
Spread.
The spread.
Spread goes down, which just means you got to be careful.
I'm using CS2 anyway.
Well, the spread and the splash kind of offset because it's 5 on the spread off center, and you gain that in the splash. But the thing is that the splash is more easily manipulated through specials than the spread is.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would never put that guy on an Imperial where the special gives you minus 40% or something like that spread, because then you're going to have all the mortars hitting 1 point. And you're not going to get the spread to get the whole island down like you usually do.
Well, it's only a 5 difference off center between the two. You can more than make up for that in splash specials.
Yeah, if you have the right specials. Again, you've got to be careful with specials you put. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the area of effect is the same between the two mortars.
Except the 85D reloads in half the time and has half the salvos, so it's actually going to do a lot more damage, as Brian will explain.
Yeah, we're about to get into that.
Yeah, and the new mortar is lighter.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's if you have your shipyard. It's lighter if you have your
shipyard to level like 3.
Sorry, Liam?
It's just annoying. It's just really, really annoying. I mean, I've refitted them on it 3 times. And 100% certainly the Siege Mortar is better than the Combat Mortar, so now I'm going to have to refit them again.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's better. There's 3 or 4, reasons why it's better, but weight is probably, the damage may only equate to a few seconds of difference in the actual combat itself, but the weight was going to allow you to put, to either put better specials or a couple of extra mortars on. Instead of running like 4 combats and 3 judgments, you might be able to run 6 siege mortars. Do you know what I mean? It's much better, much better. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, I think, as well, to bring this out. At this stage, after so many changes have already happened, to the mono and
Totally
to the combat
agree.
more.
I mean,
to throw
let's
this into an
face it.
FM, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
We've been talking about PvE's builds for this raid cycle in FM for nearly 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
From the first time when the icebreakers came out, or 2 months, sorry. 2 months, and we're still talking about options to build those fleets because they keep changing content, releasing content. It's very annoying from that perspective. We cannot like build and chill and move on. And we could be talking here about Conqueror builds instead, right? About new stuff, new exciting stuff. Instead, we're rehashing the same things over and over and over because the flood is coming.
I can't even look at sloths right now because I'm that busy trying to get the monos right, and it's now the third raid coming up for them, you know.
Right, but here, you know, the other thing is too is like last time, right before the raid, we had the Odyssey campaign come out again. I would like it if, you know, maybe some players can ask on the forums, maybe, you know, we can bring it up on the page, but I would like to see, because of this, the Odyssey campaign kick around again, and I really would like to see it before the week before raid. You know, I mean, that would, I think, alleviate some of this, because I want those on my monoliths, and I mean, I spent all my tokens refitting them during the raid. You know, I mean,
I've just got my last mono equipped
I'm
with
glad
charge armors now, so
I'm glad I redeemed 4 monolith tokens from the raid that I didn't use, so I might go and refit a few of those. But yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, I mean,
does anyone know the build time on the Siege Mortar D85D?
Yes.
We have it. That 2 slides down.
A bit over 20 out. Well, yeah, it's a bit over 20, but I have an officer, so it's probably like almost 23.
So less than a charge armor then, great.
Well, and there were people that could have skipped on taking the OU in the raid that could have earned this in the FM and used those points on something else in the raid as well.
Very good point. Those people will be upset.
that's not the
pushed
first
a couple
time.
people towards getting it, and now you know they could have gotten this in the thing, but oh well.
There was also people that maybe were running Judgment Moors, and then when they buffed the Combat Moor just before the raid, refit their monos to run Combat Moors, and now we're thinking, damn, I've got to now refit the Moors again. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey guys, do I use disruptors or harriers or blades? Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean,
it's this all over again.
As long as as long as what we have now works. If it's a case of that you have to refit the mono to this new mortar in order to be able to do anything in the next set of raid targets, then I will be cranky. But if it's a personal choice, if you want to do it, then great. But don't make it to where you have to do it.
We know they all tune to the top tech every single time. That's what they do. So
yeah, and there's been rumblings that the difficulty got a little bit worse from the first raid to the second raid, and now we might have to expect it to be a lot more next month. There was a comment on the page about looking to have monos for the June event because it's gonna change again.
But
the speculation
is going to have.
I don't know. I mean, the speculation was that, to quote it, it says, "I won't be surprised if they shut out everything but the monos from the ANS set."
Can I just say, though, do you not feel that this was they made a mistake in the stats of the Siege Mortar? Me personally, because it's lighter and because of the splash differences and stuff, I would have expected it to see a little bit less damage. I mean, I would have expected them to put a mortar into the Forsaken mission and say, hey, for those of you that didn't get the combat mortar, here's an alternative. It's not quite as good, but it's an alternative. But instead, they're basically saying, hey, combat mortar is now off the shelf. Here's a new top dog.
Well, it's the top dog only if you have all your stuff maxed up. And honestly, I kind of actually like it. I just don't like the fact that I have to refit again. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest gripe of everybody is that we got to refit again.
I think there should be gripes, what you just said and what Ru said before, where people spent raid points they could have spent elsewhere to get the OU because it was the best, and now it's not.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. This isn't the first time that's happened. I mean, I kind of half expect that from Kicks now. I mean, I'm always leery. I'm always leery about claiming stuff because I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what's coming into the FM. I wish that would change. I really wish that would change, but I don't see it changing.
Okay, let's move on to the rockets now. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Rockets.
V.
Same story.
Get him.
I think the V is better. No questions.
Yeah. No
Just
question.
like the Mortars. Same thing. A lot of people spent raid points getting the S because it was the best for their ships, and now it's not anymore.
At least that one was on sale.
No, the
This
S,
is
by
even
the way,
worse.
when first offered, the S, the old rockets, 20 million points. That's a raid haul now for these rockets when they were first offered.
True, a month before the cycle and whatnot. Yeah, they came at a premium price, and now in FM you can get a better rocket 2 months later.
And you can use like a year and a half old Citadels to get them.
Yep.
I
So
mean,
no
these
question.
things-
So just to make clear to everyone, and a lot of people said, "Oh, I got the icebreakers, but I didn't get the rocket. What can I use on the page yesterday?" And I'll say, "Well, maybe the Dragonfire is the second best." And now I'm going to tell these people, if you're up to speed on FM, get this rocket. It's better than the one from Raid.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I don't have a full fleet of icebreakers built and operational, so for me, this one is not as frustrating. But I can imagine for anyone that has gone down the path of icebreakers, they're probably going to be pretty pissed off.
Oh,
Well,
people
they
have
have
been
to
in
continue-
refit mode for 2 months trying to adjust their icebreaker, monoliths, Imperials, any raid fleet. 2 months, non-stop build, refit, trying to react to kick size changes, right? I don't think that goes down well, but okay. The price is good.
Well, look, I'll be honest. I built icebreakers first. I started stripping them for my monoliths for this month, and I'm at the point where I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say the hell with PvP, right? I mean, I might get all the stuff. I don't know, whatever. But I'm going to spend the next month, the hell with my base, the hell with hitting other bases. I'm just going to keep on building FM stuff and tweak both of those fleets, so that way when the FM comes around, I might be able to be a really lazy pirate.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And a lot of players, unfortunately, like Kickside on one hand is doing things to drive up PvP because it is the most fun part of the game. But then the other half of the team there, or whoever's making decisions, is just making things to actively prevent people from doing PvP.
Yep.
By keeping them in the hamster wheel of adjusting PvE and consuming all the tokens on PvE. So in the end, it's like, I don't have time for PvP or to build PvP stuff.
Fully agree.
Brian, do you want to say something?
The amount and density of mistakes and adjustments that these people have had to make over the past 2 months has gone past incompetence and into intentional, I feel. Like, if you've screwed up this many times, you should have been fired because you can't do your job. Or you are being pressured from someone above you to do a job that is probably crushing your soul. And then those people, hopefully the numbers will fire them. Ah, yes, good. My sheet. Fantastic. Thank you.
Over to you, okay. Brian. Keep going.
Lovely. So I made another spreadsheet. Kix, the invoice is coming soon. I think you owe me 88 cents because this took me 5 minutes to do, and apparently you guys, well, I don't know whether or not you got this right, but if you did, well, you made something better. D85D, the new mortar, OU10, the mortar that's supposed to be with the mono, Judgment mortar, the new rocket, the old rocket, Scald fleets without the rocket special, 1 icebreaker because the stacking buff is there, it had to be. There's your damage, your base reload. You reload on either icebreakers or monos, the appropriate ship. Salvo time, important because I'm not sure if they get it yet. The salvo time, you don't reduce that with rank. You don't reduce that with reload. It just stays at 0.2 seconds no matter what. So that's something that you need to be cognizant of when you're building your ships. That 0.6 seconds on the OU10, you can't reduce that. It's just there. So the best cycle times you can really feasibly get are down below it. And the DPS is damage over the cycle time because, again, it's not... Yeah, it's damage over cycle time because you gotta... The damage for the missile isn't for every missile in the salvo. It's spread over the salvo, so you can't multiply them out that way. So there you go. The new thing is the best. It's got more splash, a little less spreads, tier 5 FM prize, plus 4 hour build time estimate. I think it's about 23 hours with no officer, no R&D, something like that, about a day. RU10, a bunch of question marks because what the heck's going on? Nobody knows. It was recently buffed, and now it's second best again. It was buffed, what, 2 weeks ago? Nice TLC prize, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for giving us this mortar that was supposed to be the best mortar and wasn't. And then it was, and then it wasn't. Judgment. It has Mervs. It's a 2 FM prize, I think. It's pretty good if you can't get anything better, but it's fine. 5% speed on this rocket. Tier 5 FM prize. And nice raid prize for that D100S. That was, what, 8 million with the flash sale? 6 million? I forget. But, you know, even doubled, it was, it's been price, it was still more than money.
My comment, Brian, from looking at your spreadsheet, was going to be DPS-wise, the new mortar is just slightly better than the OU10, so no biggie there. I mean, even if I decide not to refit, my DPS won't suffer as much, unless, because the new mortar is lighter, I can fit an extra mortar.
And you can.
Then it's going to be huge.
Also, can I also add in something that might not have been looked at, right? You know, a ship has a built-in stat called assault DPS and structure DPS, ship DPS, structure DPS, yeah? So the new mortar you'll be firing, you'll be getting that twice in the same time the combat mortar gets it once. Now the structure DPS...
it's per second, it doesn't actually change, no matter how fast you reload.
I thought it was per round.
No, it's not damage per shot, it's damage per second. I saw that on the forums the other day too. It's not damage per shot.
Sorry.
So that's why Brian didn't put that in the calculation, because it doesn't change.
Well,
so just to finish my point. So I was just going to say the mortar is just slightly better. It's not a must change unless you think you can fit an extra mortar and then you gain a lot more damage.
Yep.
But I was going to say the difference in DPS on the rockets, oh my God, is huge.
Plus that speed.
Yeah.
Huge.
66% better on the D100V, and that's without the special. If you add the special, then you're going to be down to 0.2 seconds, and that'll give you about 1,200 more DPS. So it's
and anything that buffs damage as a percentage will act on a much higher base, so it's going to get stupid at some point.
Yeah,
I looked at that. Yeah, I looked at that new rocket, and I'm half tempted to actually refit those first before I refit my monos.
Yeah. So I was just wanted to say, I mean, the mortars are nice to refit, but those rockets, put as many as you can, because it's going to make a heck of a difference.
Yeah, a couple things real quick on the mortar, the new mortar. I didn't put in that there's the weight reduction. I forgot about it. I reread it was Drac. So yeah, you get a weight reduction. I have 6 OUs on mine, but I could change it to 7 of the new mortar, and all I have to do is drop a Gale 1. I don't even have to change any specials or armors or anything. So that's important. And with a build like George's, he has explosive upgrade for a really low weapon weight. I think you can fit all 8 onto something because of how it works with the weight and the reduction. So it really does make a huge difference. It can, because you have 2 of these where the OUs you have nothing. And the assault and siege DPS is divided over the weapon slots. So you're getting a little bit of a bonus there too. If you can put in a new weapon.
Because you have more mortars, yeah. The problem is for people who have their monos built, changing 7 or 8 weapons
is a week
off refit per ship.
It's going to take right up until next raid to refit your monos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a week. It's a week just to build the 7 mortars from nothing thereabout. It's almost a week for one ship out of 4. That's 4 weeks. Hey guys, we're in the next raid now. I guess you didn't want to refit your guard to build conquerors because, haha. Get wrecked.
I mean, I'm not even going to get to look at sloths until after the next raid cycle. That's the truth. That's the truth of it.
You won't then either, because you'll be building the next hull for the next raid set.
Yeah, the assault thing.
Man, I mean, I coin a little bit. Everyone knows that. I mean, I coin probably above average, but I'm not a whale. And just now, I got to the point where I have the shell of a Harlock Alpha Behemoth to rank this weekend, and then build it. That's how far behind I'm falling. I only have 1 gluttony, and that was a choice because I couldn't think about it. So being a coiner, getting all the tokens the game can offer, I'm behind by at least a month because I'm just now starting to build the prize from the raid from a month ago. And, you know, that to me doesn't make any sense. I can only imagine how people who don't coin and are not up to speed on tier 5 of FM are keeping up or giving up. Okay?
Well,
it's just, again, too many refits, too many changes, too much content. And they slow down the content, but then they replace new content for changes, refits, new weapons, new specials, and all that stuff.
Yeah, you saw the result of that last week when I ranted by accident.
These fleets take multiple months to build and tune, and I don't really know if they actually understand that or if they just spend like 80,000 preview gold. Well, I'm sorry.
I spent all the tokens I could. I spent all the tokens I had for Imperials. And I had bought some Imperial tokens from a TLO, I think it was 4 days of tokens. And then I got 10 from the raid and FM, and just to put the heavy mortar on the Imperials, right? It took me 4 days per ship.
Well, why don't Kickside release the raid haul for next cycle this week, and then by the time we get to the first raid of the next cycle, it might just be about ready.
You properly tuned, yeah.
Or here's a crazy idea. I'm just gonna give a polish on my Apollos, hope they work as well as the Citadels did, or nearly as well. And I'm only going to start building stuff for the next raid cycle a month in when they stabilize the content. Because my time to build is probably going to be the same time for the early adopters to build and refit.
Well, I mean, yeah, but something I like. I don't want to always be negative. I kind of feel like the way the game has been for the last couple of months is almost left me with nothing but negativity, and that's not how I want to be as a player. Certainly not the kind of vibe I want to spread in the show. But it's, you know, when things are wrong, we have to call them as wrong, and it's been wrong recently. Yeah,
and again, I mean, if you look at the design of the specials and weapons that they released this week, they're very cool. It's just, again,
my point is, like, for next raid, they need to start restoring some faith in the player base. You know, players need to start feeling more confident about saying, hey, this is the new ship, I'm going to build it. Instead of saying, hey, this is the new ship, I'm probably not going to build that for a month until I get it right. Do you know what I mean?
Right. But Liam, the problem is that this is going to be our FM. I mean, they've got to get this right. Not even worry about next one. They have to get this right, because if the FM changes and there's still issues going into the FM, that's going to just snowball.
Well, it wasn't like this last year, and I don't know what's going on in the dev office at the moment. But whatever it is, you know, they need to sit down and just need to sort it out, because this is it's getting silly now. It really is getting silly.
Yeah, and guys, just in interest of time, I'm gonna end the discussion. Sorry, and just this weekend, as everyone knows, is VXP weekend from Friday to Monday. Friday and Saturday, we're gonna have the targets paying extra points, the 101, similar to the S target, and the URF level 99. And for the whole weekend, we'll have the level 55 that pays a lot less points, but still better than salvaging. And remember, it's the only opportunity we have to rank tier 6 conquerors and defenders, as they cannot hit salvages or any other PvE target. Okay? And then finally, Brian, take over. Bug fixes and tuning.
Okay, with a nice little gnome there.
It's the gnome that works at Kickside without anybody there knowing.
Oh boy.
Changing their code at night.
Fixed an issue with the Judgment Mortar build time being higher than intended. Oh, good. I think it was that way for a week.
No, just a day or two.
Just a day or two?
It went from 16 to 33 hours when they released the Heavy Mortar info in the game last Tuesday. But they fixed by Wednesday or Thursday. It was
well, they fixed it, but they didn't put it in until this week. Okay. I thought they'd have put that out otherwise. Anyways.
No. They fixed it immediately. They're just announcing this week for some stupid reason.
Okay. Yeah, I thought they'd have announced it immediately because that seems important.
Yeah.
Fixed an issue where the polonium accelerator was not displaying thrower weapon damage increase in the stats. Okay.
Correct. So if you added the special to the polonium thrower, the special was not changing the damage in the ship stats in the shipyard. So people's like, whoa, I put the special. The special increases radioactive or thrower damage, and it doesn't change. It was changing, but it was a display bug that got fixed.
Outpost tactical modules will no longer overlap for the outpost if there are 3 equipped. Okay. Daily campaigns were not correctly turned back on after the conclusion of the event. They have been re-enabled as of just now. Our apologies for the inconvenience. This is posted. Oh, campaigns were not turned correctly back on. So actual campaigns were not turned back on properly. They're back now. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. All right, and that's it as far as content goes, guys. We're 15 minutes over time. I know Rue wanted to say something.
Yeah, just 2 things real quick. First off, a huge thank you to all of the players and anybody, including TFC folks, that took the time to make videos during the raid, and thank you all for sharing those on the page. It was great to see so many different types of fleets and so many different routes that there were from people. So again, thanks for that. And just a gentle reminder, I mean, we've talked about this many, many times, but I'm still seeing in things where people are either coming back to the game, not realizing it, or just playing procrastinating. We've got approximately 4 more weeks until the next raid, and then after that, the FM targets are going to change to the new one. So if you have not got your raid fleet going or your FM fleet going, you're going to get caught out in a hard way. So just a general reminder on that.
I'm going to be blunt.
You can't use
than you, Rue, and just going to say, if people don't get a raid fleet for this raid cycle, maybe it's time to give up and find another game, because you're not going to be able to do FM going forward, and you're out.
And you know what? For those players that are just about to start building monos, you're probably in a much better position than the people that have been refitting them for 2 months. So
yeah,
you're probably better off building them new from scratch just now anyway. You know what I mean?
It takes us time to take off mortars for reasons.
Yeah. And I on Bruce, thank you for the community. I just wanted to shout out for the Vato Loco guy who was doing 100s with Citadels. That was amazing.
Caesar.
And I also wanted a shout out to the 2 Daniels, who had a very heated thread with a very healthy discussion, trying to see who could shave off a minute here, a minute there. One guy using Zealous and Imperials, and the other guy using Monos with Gridiron. And they're like, oh, I can do for 24 minutes. I can do for 23. I can do for 22 and a half. And that was very cool. And they promised me videos for next month.
Well, and speaking of videos, doesn't Liam owe us one?
Yes, he does.
No, I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance, guys. Honestly, I finished work Sunday, and then
I don't want to hear excuses. Yes, he owes us
Me
a
neither.
video, and I've not seen it yet.
George,
can we just put
Liam? He's gonna fire you, man.
Yeah, you're done, though. Can we just put yakety sax in the background? No matter what happens, just yakety sax.
I want my video. Guys. I don't think he's realized it yet.
Yeah, Liam, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself, because George is your friend?
He's trying to fire George. So
I couldn't.
Okay, so Liam, we're done. After you fire George, it's all over to you.
No worries. Well, listen, thanks everyone. It was a great show.
Actually, Liam, the raider just confirmed on chat that the June raid date is going to be the 15th.
15th. Okay.
Build your monoliths, folks.
1 week, 2 week, 3 week.
Okay,
4
guys.
week.
Well, as we mentioned there, and thanks, Ruth, for bringing that up. We are really thankful to all of the support and all of the players that get involved in the TFC page and the shows, and we are obviously wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much for that, and thank you to all the admins, all of you guys that put in such hard work for the show, and the players with your videos and your dedication of your free time to make TFC what it is. So thank you, everyone. So guys, again, maybe not the most positive show, but there was some good positive points as well. We'll see you on Saturday's show. I'm sure there'll be some videos up on the website of the current TLC, and I hope everyone has a good week in BP. Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.